2100 hours. Assalamu alaikum. This is Radio Pakistan. The news read by Ali Ahmed. First, the headlines. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has called for full respect to human and fundamental rights in occupied Kashmir and implementation of relevant UN resolutions on the issue. Addressing joint news conference with visiting UN chief, Foreign Minister urged the world body to reaffirm binding nature of UNSC resolutions on Kashmir. Addressing a conference on climate change in Islamabad today, Antonio Guterres said goals of global peace and prosperity are linked with alleviation of poverty, inequality and hunger. In occupied Kashmir, Indian police have arrested senior Hurriyat leaders Ghulam Muhammad Khan Safori and Shabir Ahmed Dar in Baramulla. In spite of countrywide protests and resentment, Indian Prime Minister has ruled out scrapping controversial Citizenship Act. The final of Kabaddi World Cup between Pakistan and India is in progress in Lahore. And now the news in detail. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has urged for full respect to human and fundamental rights in occupied Kashmir and implementation of the relevant UN resolutions on the issue. He was addressing a joint news conference along with Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi in Islamabad tonight. He said, "We have taken solid position for the UN Security Council resolutions to be adopted and offered our good offices for resolving issues between Pakistan and India if both sides agree." The UN Secretary-General said, UNMOGIP is continuously monitoring the ceasefire violations along the line of control. He said the UN was deeply concerned over the tensions between India and Pakistan last year and had asked both sides for restraint, as dialogue and diplomacy are the only way to solve the problems. Antonio Guterres, while appreciating the initiative of construction of Kartarpur Corridor, said it is a symbol of interfaith harmony and will promote peace in the region. The UN chief said his visit to Pakistan is to acknowledge the great generosity and his hospitality that Pakistan extended to Afghan refugees for over 40 years, despite its limited resources and challenges. He said Pakistan's efforts against terrorism are commendable and very successful. He said due to these efforts, now Islamabad has become a safe family station for UN staff. On the Afghan situation, he said political solution and permanent ceasefire is the only way forward to durable peace in Afghanistan, which will foster the repatriation process of Afghan refugees. In reply to a question, he also said that we need to fight Islamophobia strongly. He said we are committed to fight against all forms of populism that contributes in such narrative. On his turn, Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi said that we had a very fruitful meeting with the UN Secretary-General in which we discussed a host of issues. He said Pakistan has always supported peace and reconciliation in Afghanistan as it believes that peace in the neighboring country will improve regional stability. He said one example of unilateralism is the illegal act of 5th of August of last year by India. He said we have conveyed to the UNSG about the challenging situation arising out of this unilateral act. He urged the UN Secretary-General to reaffirm the binding nature of UNSC resolutions, besides highlighting the restoration of fundamental rights and freedom of movement and urging India to respect the 2003 ceasefire violations agreement. Shah Mahmood Qureshi said he also asked the UN chiefs that there should be a freedom of movement of UNMOGIP to fulfill its mandate on the Indian side, just like it enjoys in Pakistani area. Earlier, talking to the UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres, the Foreign Minister said, Pakistan under the leadership of Prime Minister Imran Khan believes in peaceful neighborhood. He expressed serious concern over India's growing aggressive posturing. Shah Mahmood Qureshi said India's ceasefire violations along the LOC have increased and civilians are being targeted. The Foreign Minister urged the UN Secretary-General to play his role as the people of Pakistan and Kashmir are hopeful that UN Security Council will soon give them legal legitimate and democratic voting rights. Meanwhile, addressing a conference on climate change, Antonio Guterres said, "Addressing challenges and threats of climate change is a common responsibility of all global powers." He underlined the need to step up actions to achieve goals of climate change and sustainable development. The UN Secretary General said, "Goals of global peace and prosperity are linked with alleviation of poverty, inequality, and hunger." He lauded steps taken by the PTI government to address negative impacts of climate change in Pakistan. In her address, Minister of State for Climate Change, Zartaj Gul, said the government has taken concrete measures to address challenges of climate change. In his address, advisor to Prime Minister on climate change, Malik Amin Aslam, said Pakistan is fifth most vulnerable country, which suffers the most from climate-related disasters in the long term. This is Radio Pakistan. President Dr. Arif Alvi says Pakistan is at the tipping point of the tremendous boom in tourism sector. Addressing a ceremony in Islamabad tonight, he stressed on the need for imparting training to the people in the field of tourism in the country. The president said Pakistan is endowed with the largest number of ancient artifacts of Buddhism in the world. He said Pakistan is also the center of oldest civilizations, which needs to be explored. The government has decided to launch a new tax campaign across the country to improve the taxation system. In the first phase, the drive will be started from Sialkot and will be extended to the other parts of the country. Under the drive, all development projects will be named after the top taxpayers, and they will also inaugurate development projects at local level. The campaign will also be run in collaboration with Federal Board of Revenue and NADRA, and these institutions will identify taxpayers at village and street level. In occupied Kashmir, Indian police arrested senior Hurriyat leaders Ghulam Muhammad Khan Safari and Shabir Ahmed Dar, along with several activists in Baramulla district. According to Kashmir Media Service, the arrests were made during police raids on the house in Safor town. Meanwhile, Indian authorities did not allow a conference on Kashmir in Srinagar in which senior Congress leader Mani Shankar Ayar was invited to participate as chief guest. Mani Shankar Ayar told media over the phone that he was put in detention in the hotel, saying he wished that foreign envoys had seen the condition in which he was in. On the other hand, analysts and political scientists have rejected the maps of global search engine Google, which marked Jammu and Kashmir disputed for people outside India. They said that showing two versions of disputed territory betrays Google's hypocrisy. Besides, it is a violation of UN resolutions. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has ruled out any rethink on decisions of scrapping Article 370 and Citizenship Amendment Act despite pressure. Addressing a public meeting in Varanasi today, he said the country waited for decisions on these for years. Provisions of Article 370 of the Constitution, which accorded special powers to state of Jammu and Kashmir, were abrogated by his government in August last year. Modi said the trust set up for the constitution of the Ram Temple in Ayodhya will work rapidly. In China, a number of new cases from coronavirus dropped for the third consecutive day today, while the death toll jumped to 1,665 today. More than 68,000 people have now been infected, but the number of new cases continue to decline. Saudi Arabia has reaffirmed to support a political solution in Yemen. Saudi Foreign Minister Faisal bin Farhan bin Abdullah, while speaking at Munich's security conference, expressed the hope that Houthis would put the interests of Yemen first. Meanwhile, speaking at the Munich Security Conference, Oman's Foreign Minister Yusuf bin Alvi bin Abdullah expressed their fear that military confrontation in the Strait of Hormuz in the Gulf region could be dangerous. The final of Kabaddi World Cup between Pakistan and India is in progress in Lahore. Earlier, Iran bagged third position after beating Australia by 54 to 33 points. And finally, the weather. Mainly dry weather is expected in most parts of the country during next 24 hours. However, rain thunderstorms are expected at few places in Gilgit-Baltistan and Kashmir. And that is the end of the news. For more news and analysis, log on to our website radio.gov.pk. And for the live video streaming of our bulletins, visit the link facebook.com/Radio Pakistan News Official.